From honeymoon plans to handcuffs, the night everything collapsed. Before we begin the story, make sure to subscribe to our channel and never miss more incredible stories every day. I've got to get this off my chest because it's eating me alive. I honestly feel like I'm losing my grip on reality. My fiancée, Emily, and I have known each other for about 6 years, and we've been engaged for 1. Our wedding is supposed to happen in just 2 weeks. And tonight I saw something that makes me think I'm about to make the biggest mistake of my life. This evening, Emily and I were actually enjoying a rare quiet night at home. She was in the kitchen putting dinner together while I was out back tinkering with one of my projects. Like you do when you're doing heavy work, I got thirsty and came inside for a drink. And that's when I spotted Emily at the counter, prepping dinner and chatting on speakerphone. I knew the voice the second I heard it. It was my brother-in-law, Jason. Here's where my head starts doing somersaults. Jason asked Emily if she knew where her sister, Lauren, was because he'd been trying to reach her and she wasn't answering any texts. And I heard Emily tell him, clear as day, she just left here. She should be home in half an hour or so. For context, Lauren is Jason's wife of 5 years. At first, I didn't even register what Emily had just said because I walked into the kitchen, grabbed a glass, and asked, what was that about? She goes, Jason was looking for Laura. I saw her texting, so I asked, what are you doing? Then she adds, I'm texting Lauren that Jason's looking for her. I filled my glass, took a seat, had a sip, and only then did my brain kick into gear. First problem, I had heard Emily tell Jason that Lauren had been here. Lauren had not been here, and the last time we saw her was yesterday when she came by to help Emily with some last-minute wedding decoration stuff. Second problem, why would Emily be texting Lauren and expecting a reply when Jason had literally just said Lauren wasn't answering texts? Third problem, why tell Jason that Lauren would be home in 30 minutes unless Emily either knew exactly where Lauren was or was actively texting her right then to hustle home? The only conclusion I could land on was that Emily was lying to Jason about where her sister was and probably warning Lauren that Jason expected her home within half an hour. I spent the next 5 hours spinning up explanations for this, some decent, some downright ugly, and replaying them in my head like a broken record. I wanted badly to ask Emily straight up, but if what I thought was happening was actually happening, I figured I wouldn't get a straight answer anyway, which brings me to about an hour ago. I woke up around 1 a.m. to hit the bathroom, and I couldn't fight the urge to check Emily's phone. We both know each other's pins, so that part was easy. I took her phone, ducked into the bathroom, and unlocked it. And yeah, exactly what I was afraid of, and probably what you're expecting. Emily's sister, Lauren, has been having an affair with a co-worker for about 6 months, and Emily has been helping her cover it up for almost that entire time. There are hundreds of texts between them about the affair, about the co-worker, about sex stuff, and a bunch of humiliating comments about my brother-in-law. Just stomach-churning garbage. And my soon-to-be wife is going along with all of it like it's no big deal. I took screenshots of the entire thread, returned the phone to where I found it, and then retreated to my home office, which is where I am now, typing this out just to keep myself from screaming. I am completely, absolutely screwed. I can't marry Emily. I just can't. I can't imagine any reasonable excuse for helping her sister cheat and for throwing not only Jason under the bus, but also their 2-year-old daughter. On the other hand, my family, her family, and I have all shoveled a ridiculous amount of money into a wedding that's supposed to happen in about 2 weeks, and there's no chance we're seeing any of that money again. On top of that, I feel like a damn fool. How did I miss this side of her? What the hell am I supposed to do? I can't marry her. I absolutely can't. And yet, I still want to. She's beautiful and fun and kind, and I really believed we had a bright future lined up. She's never wronged me personally, but I can't see her the same way now. It's like a huge black stain splashed across an otherwise beautiful picture. I don't know how I misread this so badly, and I'm dreading the thing I know I have to do. I feel like I might vomit or put my fist through a wall. You don't need to talk me out of marrying Emily. That part's obvious. The wedding is off. I'm just trying to figure out next steps and gather the spine to do it cleanly. There's a mountain of pressure from everyone's expectations, but I'm not caving. I just don't look forward to the fallout, and I'm pissed I'm even in this position. It's 5 a.m. I've got work in 3 hours and only a couple hours of sleep to show for it. I'm going to shower and head in early to avoid Emily and stew on all this. Thanks to those who've been supportive, and a big raspberry to the folks insisting there must be a good reason my soon-to-be ex-fiancée, helped her sister run around on her husband. I got to work around 7 o'clock. Nobody else was in yet, so I decided to start ripping off the Band-Aid and called my brother Andrew. He lives in Australia, so he was still up after putting his kids to bed. It sucked breaking the news to him, especially knowing he'd already laid out a bunch of money for flights to come here. To his credit, he didn't bring it up once. He just backed me as an older brother. He also made a point that hit home. You work a job where you deal with liars and scammers every day. I don't blame you for wanting your home to be the one place that's clean. He nailed it. I get now why I'm reacting so strongly to Emily's part in this lie. Andrew also had a decent idea. He was planning to take his family to Florida for sightseeing and the parks. Well, now their uncle is coming along too. It lines up since we were going to honeymoon there and meet them for a bit anyway. I'll just rebook things to be closer to them, and I'll offer Emily's ticket to my sister or another family member. I haven't read every comment, but I answered a few. Right now, I'm nervously sipping coffee after coffee and waiting for the day to get far enough along that I can reach out to Jason. Just finished morning stand-up. My stomach is doing flips from about 2 pots of coffee, and I can't concentrate. I feel like I can't do anything else until I tell Jason what I know. So I'm taking a sick day, driving over to his place, and seeing if he's home. If not, I'll call and track him down. Jason's a teacher on break, and Lauren works a standard 9 to 5, so odds are good I'll catch him. Wish me luck. I got to Jason's place a little after 10 a.m. He had just put his daughter down for a nap, and we had a long, brutal talk in the kitchen. Basically, he'd suspected something for a couple of months, but Lauren had been good at covering her tracks, with help from Emily and a couple of their mutual friends, obviously. I don't have all 6 months of messages, just a couple dozen screenshots I sent myself from Emily's phone, but I gave him what I had and promised whatever help I could. For context, I'm a field analyst in the CIU department of a mid-sized insurer. We specialize in workers' comp fraud, so I know a few things and a few people. So now I'm working on my laptop in my almost brother-in-law's kitchen, trying to salvage what I can. I've got to talk to Emily tonight and get the word to my friends and family quickly now that I know I won't be screwing Jason over. I've managed to rebook most of the honeymoon, though I hit a snag because Emily was flying under her maiden name and the airline has a surname rule. They let me cancel for a partial refund and rebook for my sister, who'll join her 2 brothers and nieces in Florida in a couple of weeks. I'm holding off on canceling venues until after I talk to Emily because I don't want to tip anyone off before Jason confronts Lauren, but I am going to tell my family and close friends this afternoon and beg them to keep it quiet. I'm in a frenzy canceling what I can, and I'm heading to the bank to open a new account and sort out bills and paychecks. Money-wise, it's not ideal, but it could be worse. The mortgage is in my name. We're not married, and I make more, but Emily put in about $20,000 toward the down payment, and I put in $60,000. I'll probably have to pay her back the $20,000 and some portion of the last 16 months of mortgage payments, but it's survivable. It's about 8:30 p.m. and I'm typing this from my buddy's place. His name is Tyler, former co-worker of mine in the same line of work. As I mentioned, I'm a field analyst in CIU. It's basically private investigator work on sketchy workers' comp claims. Jason asked me to help ID the guy Lauren's been seeing. All we had was a name. Let's call him Ryan. I didn't start with any high-tech sleuthing, just combed LinkedIn through Lauren's connections and got nothing, which felt odd. Jason told me Lauren was supposed to grab drinks after work and wouldn't be home until 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock. He didn't need to spell out what he suspected. I said I'd help, but he had to come along. Then I called my friend Tyler, explained the situation, and asked him to meet us later. First stop was Jason's parents' house so they could watch their granddaughter. Not sure what Jason told them. I waited in the car. Next, we headed to Lauren's workplace. It's one of those long commercial strips with a row of bland offices and a big open parking lot. We circled until we found Lauren's car, and Jason unlocked it with the spare key. I handed him a voice-activated recorder and a GPS tracker to place inside. When that was done, we parked down the street and waited for Tyler and for Lauren to clock out. Tyler arrived about 20 minutes later, hopped into our car, and roughly an hour after that, Lauren walked out with 2 of her girlfriends and a tall, younger guy with sandy blonde hair. They were holding hands, plain as day, and I thought, well, Lauren, you're not making this hard. I took a few photos from the car, watched Lauren leave in hers, and started tailing at a distance. I figured they might go straight to a hotel, but instead she drove to a nice bar and grill in a decent part of town and parked on the street. I rolled past as she headed inside, then found my own spot and laid out the plan. We sent Tyler in first since nobody knew him. He had 2 jobs: get any compromising shots and serve as my alibi. Jason and I waited in the car for 20 minutes until Tyler started texting pictures. Lauren and Ryan kissing in front of their 2 female co-workers. Jason's hunch was right. They were helping Lauren hide the affair. He was shaking mad. Turns out one of the co-workers is married, and she and her husband are close friends with Jason and Lauren. Their toddlers are the same age. I asked Jason if that was enough proof, but he still wanted the guy's identity. I tried to tell him we could figure that out later, but he practically begged me, so I texted Tyler that I was coming in and walked into the bar. First thing I saw was Lauren and her crew laughing around a tall table near the front window. I paused, put on a surprised face, and called out, "Lauren, hey, what are you doing here?" She froze, and the whole table went stiff. She quickly introduced me as her sister's fiancée and mentioned we were getting married in 2 weeks. Everyone offered congratulations. I shook the blonde guy's hand and gave my full name, hoping he'd give his back. He did, and it caught me off guard. His first name wasn't Ryan. I introduced myself around and told Lauren I was there to meet a coworker. I waved to Tyler and slipped away. Back with Tyler, we looked up the guy's name. Didn't take long. He had social profiles and even a couple of court judgments. Everything clicked when we realized Ryan was his middle name. At least Lauren wasn't juggling 2 coworkers. Turns out Ryan is 26, married, and has a 1-year-old daughter. Perfect. I texted Jason the guy's real name and decided to push my luck, told him to hang on a few more minutes. I played chaperone in the bar, totally visible to Lauren and her group. Out of the corner of my eye, I could see my presence wrecking their night, which suited me fine. After about 10 minutes, I told Jason to text Lauren that he and their daughter were staying at his parents' place overnight. Not long after, I watched Lauren pull out her phone, show it to Ryan, and then the group started packing up. Lauren came over, said goodnight, and asked if Emily and I wanted to come over for dinner this weekend. I smiled, said that sounded great, and wished them all a nice evening. Tyler and I paid the bill, hustled back to Jason, and waited. We weren't sure where Lauren would go. Part of me figured she might have a hotel lined up, which would complicate things. But tonight must have been just drinks, and Jason's "I'm at my parents" note turned it into more. Lauren drove straight home, and we followed from way back, then parked down the street. Not long after, another car pulled into Jason's driveway, and out stepped Ryan. He walked up, knocked, and Lauren let him in. By then it was around 7:30, and I had my own mess to handle. I felt I'd done enough for Jason. He could take it from there. He grabbed my gear from Lauren's car, we said our goodbyes, and I left. About 2 hours later, I got a text from Jason saying it was done, and he was going to his parents for real. No other updates. I've been at Tyler's since. As for me, the priority now is to go home and tell Emily the wedding is off. She's going to take it hard. No way around that. I don't know what our future looks like, together or not, but we're definitely not getting married anytime soon. And for the folks asking, why didn't you talk to her first? Are you serious? She looked Jason in the eye, over the phone, and lied without flinching. If you think someone who can lie that cleanly to family would suddenly tell me the truth, we're built different. Until that moment, I never doubted Emily. But she was blatantly untrustworthy right in front of me, and I'm supposed to shrug that off? If I'd confronted her right away, she could have deleted everything. I never would have seen the awful things she said, never understood how two-faced she could be, and never realized how little I actually knew about her. I'm going home to talk to Emily. I'll update later with the final verdict. Don't expect a happy ending. Here's another update, because a lot happened. Most of it wasn't great. Honestly, it was downright lousy, but I'll lay it out. I left Tyler's place pretty late. Emily knew I was meeting with him for work, though she had no clue the work was her sister's affair. I stalled because I was trying to gather the nerve to go home and face her. After a couple of pep talks from Tyler, I texted Emily that I was heading back and drove home. Walking in, I got blindsided. Lauren was on our couch, crying while Emily comforted her. I hadn't seen Lauren's car in the driveway, so this was the last thing I expected. I froze and almost backed out the door. This wasn't how I imagined it, and I knew Lauren's presence would make an ugly situation even worse. Still, I had a timeline, friends to notify, wedding stuff to cancel, the clock pounding in my head. When I stepped into the room, both of them glanced up, but the shouting match I'd braced for didn't happen. I just looked back and raised my eyebrows. The moment passed, Lauren went back to sobbing, and Emily kept patting her shoulder while I stood there for 30 awkward seconds, thinking. It seemed Jason hadn't mentioned my role in uncovering the affair. I decided to play dumb, not for any grand strategy, but to see how Emily would react. I sat in the recliner, set my laptop bag down, pulled out my phone, fiddled with it like I was checking messages, and asked, "What's going on?" Lauren sobbed. Emily said, "Jason is divorcing Laure." No surprise there. I asked the obvious, "For what?" Emily paused, face tightening like a kid being told to eat broccoli. Lauren shot her a look only sisters can read, and after a beat, Emily said, "She cheated on him." That answer floored me, not because it wasn't true, but because she said it out loud to me. Sure, she could have deflected. Jason accused her of cheating, but she didn't. Lauren crumpled deeper into the couch with this weird half-sigh, half-sob. I wanted to push for more, but I must have stammered. Emily took my reaction as shock, which was true in its own way. I went for the natural follow-up. "How long?" Emily answered easily. 6 months. The ease of it stunned me. Lauren smacked Emily's hand away, and even Emily looked surprised at her own honesty. I leaned back, rubbed my face, and decided to rip the rest of the Band-Aid. "We're not getting married." 2 identical blank stares and a chorus of "Huh? What?" I stood and repeated it. "We're not getting married. I can't marry someone who covers up adultery, especially for 6 months." Emily jumped up with her arms open, body language screaming, "You can't be serious." I put my hands out. "I'm serious. I hate this. I hate that you took part in it. I can't go through with the wedding feeling like this. It'd be a mistake." The waterworks hit instantly. Emily sobbing hard, Lauren doing that fish out of water mouth thing. Emily wailed about me not loving her, about duty, the money lost, the inconvenience to our friends, the embarrassment. None of it was new. I'd rehearsed all that in my head, but hearing it through her sobs landed differently. Then I made what might have been a mistake, though maybe it was inevitable. I already canceled the honeymoon. It's done. The second I said it, I knew I'd dropped a bomb. Lauren, quick on the uptake. No wonder she fooled Jason for so long. Put the pieces together with me showing up at the bar. She screamed, "You son of a," and launched herself at me. I'm not huge, but I'm not small either, and she still knocked me back. I barely got my hands up before her fingernails raked across my face. I almost lost my phone, managed to push her off, and shouted, "Lauren, back off. Emily, get your sister under control." Lauren lunged again, but, surprisingly, Emily grabbed her around the waist and held her back. I yelled, "Get out now, or I'm calling the police," and held up my phone. Emily begged us both to calm down and said, "She doesn't have anywhere to go. Jason took her keys." So that explained the missing car, but I didn't care. I was done with Lauren permanently. I marched into my office, locked the door, and called the cops. I told them my fiancée's sister had attacked me. I was locked in my office. I was bleeding near my left eye and my vision was blurry, and I feared for my safety. I also told them I'd recorded the whole thing on my phone. Right as I finished, Emily knocked. "Please come out. We need to talk. Don't do this. Lauren's sorry. She wants to apologize." I'm pretty sure that last part was a lie, but Emily was panicking. I didn't answer. A minute later, the police knocked on our front door. 2 male officers, one younger than me, one older and generally done with life. I came out, introduced myself, pointed to Lauren, and offered the video. The younger cop asked if I wanted to press charges. I said yes. He asked again if I wanted to press charges. I said yes again. Before he could ask a third time, I said, "Yes, I want to press charges. I have video, and this is going to court, or I'm calling your boss to come down and do it himself." He looked surprised I knew the captain's name. Not that we're buddies, but I work with law enforcement a lot, so I know the brass. I was heated, and while I get what they were poking at, I wasn't having it. Facts are facts. She assaulted me in my house, and I wanted her gone. They cuffed Lauren and walked her to the cruiser while she shrieked like a maniac. Emily kept repeating, "No, please no." The younger cop circled back, asked if everything was okay here. I said I was going to bed. He asked Emily, and when she didn't answer, he repeated, "Ma'am, are you okay?" I could tell he was fishing, and I bit my tongue. Emily nodded eventually. He started in again, and I cut him off. If you want to go fishing, try the lawn where my doorbell camera isn't recording. That almost earned me cuffs, but the older officer stepped in and steered him away. Probably didn't want to process 2 arrests at the top of his shift. They left with Lauren, hopefully out of my life for good. I debated whether to leave the house, too. My parents live a couple hours away, and I'm about to be cash-strapped, so I decided to crash in the guest room. Emily tried to get me to talk or come to bed, but I told her we'd talk tomorrow and not to disturb me. She let me be. I slept harder than I have in years. Which brings us to the last update. Except the next day turned out to be the weirdest day of my life. I woke up at 11 a.m. Emily was still home and had cleaned the house top to bottom, floors shining, bathrooms sparkling, the whole 9 yards. When she saw me, she hovered just out of reach, like she wanted to say something but didn't dare. I get it. Last night was traumatic, and she was probably wondering if I'd really canceled the wedding or if I'd cool off. I told her we needed to finish talking. She sat beside me on the couch, and I let it happen. We weren't getting married, but I didn't need to act like I hated her. I didn't. I was disappointed and pretty disgusted by what I'd read, but we were both hurting, and I didn't want to pour gasoline on it. It took some convincing for her to truly believe the wedding was off. She took it terribly. Honestly, she was a wreck, hyperventilating at times. I was holding it together a bit better, partly because it was my decision and partly because I'd had more time to process. Finally, she asked, "What about us?" I know some people will roast me for this. There are Redditors who think every mistake is grounds for nuking a relationship. And yeah, calling off the wedding is like dropping a Moab on a 6-year partnership. But I didn't have an answer in that moment. I told her I'd read the messages, and they showed me a side of her I didn't know, and now I wasn't certain about her or us. I said I couldn't understand why she joined in tearing down Jason and egged Lauren on, hurting not just him, but their daughter too. She kept saying, "I know. It was wrong. I know." I asked for an explanation, and she didn't really have one, just that she got swept up and felt like she had to choose her sister. I said a good sister keeps you on the straight and narrow, not gives you a hall pass to be a jerk. She agreed and said she'd do better, but explained that growing up, Lauren was the bossy one, and she was always the follower. I get it. I have an older sibling too. But maybe I had it easier. My brother's a decent guy, and he's lived overseas most of my adult life, so I didn't live in his shadow. Then came shock number 2 in 48 hours. Emily blurted, "It's not fair. It's not fair." "What's not fair?" I asked. "You were sexting that bimbo wife Mandy girl on Instagram last year." I was devastated, but I got over it. "Why can't you get over this?" I had no clue what she was talking about. Who the heck is bimbo wife Mandy? I asked if she was high or having a breakdown. I don't sext anyone. Never have, especially not some Instagram model. She yelled that she saw the messages last year and chose not to confront me because I stopped on my own. Turns out she'd been checking my social accounts from my home desktop when I was at work. Should have been boring since I barely use social media. I told her she could log into anything of mine right now. She called me a liar and a pervert and started throwing things. I warned her that if she tossed one more thing, she'd be leaving the house like her sister. She cursed me out, stomped to the bedroom, and slammed the door. I was rattled and confused. I went to my office, fired up the computer, and typed "bimbo wife Mandy" into Google. Up pops an Instagram, a Twitter, a Reddit, and of course, an OnlyFans. Let's call her bombshell wife Mindy here. Her profile said she was from Australia. And then it hit me. Remember how I said my brother, Andrew, was visiting last Christmas from Australia? I told him to use my office computer to game if he was jet-lagged. As far as I can tell, after his wife and kids went to bed, he logged into Instagram or somewhere similar and probably paid to chat with this model. Great guy, right? I wanted to call Andrew and confirm and also tear into him, but it was 2 or 3 a.m. over there, so it had to wait. I was climbing the walls trying to process it all. For a minute, I tried to connect whatever Emily thought she saw on my computer with her enabling Lauren, but the dots didn't really connect. Maybe Emily is more forgiving than I am. That's why she didn't confront me then, but I wish she had. It could have let me set the record straight, and maybe it would have influenced her choices later. Or maybe nothing would have changed. All I knew was this post was turning into a novel, and I'd burned half the morning just getting this out of my head. I do feel better writing it. but there are probably 2 or 3 more chapters left in this mess. I'm not going to keep posting in the same subreddit, but I'll try to update my profile quietly in a day or 2 after I talk to my brother, my parents, Emily's parents, and after I figure out where Emily and I actually stand. One thing I can say is that a bunch of my close relationships feel strained for different reasons. My parents are supportive, though that's fading as the financial hit sinks in. Yes, the wedding is still off. That was never in doubt. Emily's parents are angrier, and I'm pretty sure they're sticking pins in a little doll with my face on it. As for Lauren, she's out of jail. Emily bailed her out. I lit into Emily for that and called her her sister's underling, which must have hit home because she wrote me a 20-page letter about how Lauren bossed her around their entire childhood. I've read it twice, and I wish we'd talked about all this sometime over the last 6 years. Maybe things would look different. I don't know. If anyone still cares, expect a final chapter in a day or 2, maybe a follow-up after the former wedding date passes. Also note, bombshell wife Mindy popped up in the comments. August 10th, 23 update. August 10th, 2023. This took longer than I planned. A lot happened, and I didn't have time until after lunch today to sit and write. Quick responses to a couple of common comments first. 1. I don't know much about Jason's divorce beyond the fact that he still plans to file. No paperwork yet, but his intent is clear. I'm not his lawyer, and I'm not here to tell him what to do or to chase down the other man's wife. He's a grown man. I'll support him if he asks. 2. This isn't guerrilla marketing for an OnlyFans model. If I were doing that, I would have done it on the first post that hit Reddit's front page. The fact that the post got big makes it unsurprising that bombshell wife Mindy, or someone with a similar handle, saw her name. It could have been any one of the hundreds of models who post online. Side note, I actually spoke with Mindy. She helped confirm a detail for me, and she seemed nice. But no, there's no romance brewing. She's married, has been for almost 20 years, and her husband seems cool with her work. She's way too much woman for a modest insurance guy like me anyway. Now, the update. Last time, I ended with me assuming my brother used my office computer to chat with Mindy, but it was too late to call him. I'm one of those people who can't sit still when a problem lands in front of me, which is great for my job and terrible for my sleep. So I forced myself to take a breath, leave that for later, and handle what I could. First priority, contact everyone on my side of the guest list who hadn't heard the wedding was canceled. My parents had already called extended family, but only Emily and I had the complete list. Out of respect, I phoned instead of texting. That might have been a mistake, because every call turned into a long explanation. I could have offered a polite excuse, but I wanted people to know I wasn't being flaky or getting cold feet. It mattered for my reputation and, honestly, to honor the people who planned to show up for us. Because of that, I didn't finish the list until late morning in Australia. I made a sandwich, noticed Emily wasn't home, no idea when she left, and sat down to decide what to do about my brother. Let's call him Eric for short here. Eric is 13 years older than me, and growing up he was half brother, half third parent. He gave me his time, played with me when other teens wouldn't, and seemed wise to me. I respected him a lot. The idea that he'd been sexting a model in my house while his wife slept was hard to swallow. Talking to him was obvious, but with my relationship on fire, I wasn't sure I cared about forcing a confession just to clear my name with Emily. Was there even anything left to save? I still needed to chew him out and tell him to knock it off. As for telling my sister-in-law, Melissa, I didn't know what I'd do. That would depend on what he said and whether I believed him. I finished eating, opened Facebook, and video called Eric. He works from home in IT-adjacent stuff and usually answers during the day. He picked up after a ring or 2. We exchanged pleasantries, and then I just asked, "Did you use my computer to chat with models when you were visiting?" He froze, leaned out of frame to close his office door, and said, "Yeah, I did." "Why?" I cursed under my breath and told him how Emily thought it was me because it was on my desktop. I said I wasn't willing to take the hit for him and asked if Melissa knew. He stumbled and then admitted she didn't, and he'd prefer to keep it that way. He explained that things had been rough since their youngest was born 4 years ago, mostly in the bedroom. Eric's a private guy, especially with me, but this time he laid it out. He was tired of rejection. Melissa was always exhausted no matter what he did. Eventually, he developed performance anxiety on the rare nights she was up for it, and the spiral got worse. He said, No amount of folded laundry or time with the kids was getting me laid. It just wasn't happening. So I started working at night. The finger quotes were his. That work became an OnlyFans habit, which escalated fast with the privacy of a home office. I asked if he was still doing it. He swore he wasn't. I wanted to believe him, but after the last week, doubt was my default. The problem now was multi-layered. If I wanted to clear my name, he'd have to tell Emily it was him. But then there's no guarantee Emily wouldn't tell Melissa. Personally, I think spouses should know, but I didn't love the idea of nuking my brother's marriage over something he said he'd stopped, and which lives in a gray area for me. I told him he should tell Melissa and get counseling. He said they'd been in counseling for 6 months, and that the real breakthrough was a prescription for generic Viagra. I spit water on my screen. He said they'd set aside time a couple of nights a week and that the medication helped him get past the anxiety. So now they both actually look forward to being together after the kids are asleep. His message boiled down to, "Things are finally trending up. Please don't blow this up." I didn't want to be the one to torch his progress. Not for him, not for my nieces. If he was telling the truth, revealing everything could send their marriage into chaos. So I decided to wait and see. I'd be with him in a couple of weeks in Florida. I could get him alone, buy him a drink, and dig deeper. That felt like the best move. That night, I went to bed early. I didn't see Emily until the next morning, and she looked wrecked, like she hadn't slept. Out of habit, I asked where she'd been. She said she'd gone to Lauren's arraignment to post bail, then driven her to her parents' house and spent the night. She made a point of saying how awful it was to tell her parents I'd canceled the wedding. I asked if she told them why, and she snapped, "Of course they know." I tried to stay calm, but I was worn thin. I said, "Moving back in with them, so they've got both daughters under one roof again." It was petty, but bailing Lauren out fried my patience. She said, "You don't have to be an ass." I shot back, "And you don't have to be Lauren's underling." That landed. Her eyes welled up, and I cooled off. We stood there in silence until she said, "Our parents are coming at 3 o'clock. I literally facepalmed. I wanted to bark at her for not asking me first, but that was my ego talking. We needed to sort out the wedding deposits and say the hard truths face to face anyway. So fine, let's get it over with. There isn't much to do on a Sunday except wait, and waiting isn't fun when you're marching toward a meat grinder. 3 o'clock came, and so did our parents. We sat at the big oak table Emily bought off Facebook Marketplace, the one she loved because it seats 8, and she dreamed of hosting big family dinners, just not like this. The next 3 hours were grueling. No one was happy, obviously. My parents gave me the gentlest support. It's his decision to make, which his parents speak for, "We think this is nuts, but we'll back him." That was fine. I didn't need them taking the heat. We reached a decent arrangement on wedding costs. Try to recoup what we can, send refunds to whomever paid, and eat the rest together. But when we got to the house, Emily dug in. She didn't intend to move, and the second I mentioned paying her, or her parents, back for her share of the down payment, I realized we hadn't actually talked about whether we were staying together. By bringing up equity, I tipped my hand that I expected her to move out. She exploded. I don't blame her. I should have settled our status before talking money. Our parents seemed to get it, but Emily refused to accept that we might break up. "I'm not moving out of my house, and we are not breaking up," she said. And that's how Sunday night ended. After they left, Emily and I tried to talk, but we ran in circles. I was exhausted, so we just watched a movie in silence and went to separate rooms with a "we'll talk tomorrow." Monday morning, I woke up to a long handwritten letter slid under my door. I skimmed the first few pages, left for work, and rescheduled some meetings to start calling vendors. Results were mixed. Catering insisted I owed most of their fee, claiming they'd already ordered the food. I asked how they planned to serve week-old steak, but the owner was unmoved. If anything, my story hardened her resolve. On the flip side, the DJ was incredibly kind and refunded almost everything. Between calls, I read Emily's letter. It was 20 pages, so here's the gist. Since childhood, Lauren bullied her, and Emily coped by going along with whatever Lauren wanted. It became her default mode: avoid rocking the boat, avoid conflict, even avoid opinions. Looking back with sharper eyes, I realized Emily had been a little too perfect with me. She never disagreed, rarely prioritized her plans over mine, always tried to be helpful, and basically acted like a yes woman. No real arguments in 6 years. That sounds great, until it isn't. I started seeing it as people-pleasing, and once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. It made me realize I don't know her as well as I thought. It's like she holds up a mirror to show people what they want to see, and I fell in love with the reflection. And the version I saw in those texts? That wasn't the real Emily either. That was Lauren's reflection, ugly warts and all. If that sounds too philosophical, I get it. But over the last few days, I've learned more about Emily than I did in the previous 6 years, and that letter was my first clear window into her childhood. That night, we talked about it, her upbringing, the patterns she fell into. We agreed she needs help. She's a grown woman still stuck acting like a scared kid who can't risk displeasing anyone. Her sister, her parents, or me. That's no way to build a marriage. I feel more certain than ever that calling off the wedding was the right decision. Frankly, the only decision. After that talk, I slept with less dread than I've felt in days.